Julian Chase was not, by any emotional metric, a qualified father. He executed the duties of fatherhood with the precision of a litigator preparing a case. Stories before bed. Though his monotone turned fairy tales into dry legal briefs, consistent companionship, a routine, sterile kiss on the forehead. He performed tasks many loving fathers failed to do, yet the core component, a heartfelt connection, was absent. Julian was gay, a fact he had managed with the same calculated efficiency that defined his 30-odd years. His orientation was an anomaly in his otherwise meticulously plotted life, but not an insurmountable one. He had decided he would have a child by 30, and so he had. Leo was a bright, affectionate, perceptive 5-year-old boy from the foster care system. What Julian had never factored into his projections, however, was that this well-behaved child would stage a disappearance. It wasn't a true runaway scenario. A note had been left on the polished kitchen island, scrawled in a child's colorful wax pencil. Gone exploring. The lettering was wobbly, but for a kindergartner it was legible enough. Julian sighed, a sound of pure frustration. The parenting manuals, tucked away on the top shelf behind his economics textbooks, offered no chapter on this. He glanced at their titles, Connecting with Your Child, The Heart of Fatherhood, feeling a familiar surge of inadequacy. Wasting no more time, he grabbed his car keys, instinctively straightening his suit jacket before heading out to search. A 5-year-old boy couldn't have gone far. Leo Chase, age 5, student in the Sunflower Pod at Northgate Academy, was currently savoring his first taste of freedom. He sat curled on a metal stool at a food truck park near their condo building, methodically working his way through a $5 grilled sausage. He wondered why his dad was taking so long to find him. He had been discovered by a social worker during a bitter winter, a newborn left at a fire station, warm but with no identifying tokens. Leo was exceptionally intelligent, far beyond his years, a trait that felt more like a burden than a gift. His early life had instilled in him a profound lack of security, and his precocious mind made him acutely aware of the emotional void in his new home. He had seen a movie where a runaway child was found and showered with affection, a treasure nearly lost. Leo had decided to test the theory, but he was still just a boy, unacquainted with the world's true dangers, oblivious to the precariousness of a small child alone at a bustling, gritty food truck park after dusk. This was the 10th time Cole Miller had glanced over at the small boy curled up on the stool. Damn, he thought, what kind of parent just leaves their kid in a place like this? Maybe he'd been abandoned. Finally, after hearing another stranger ask the boy with a predatory sort of kindness where his parents were, Cole got up. He moved from his table to the boys, his large frame casting a long shadow. He tried to soften his voice, to make his weathered face seem less intimidating. He told the boy he could sit with them to wait for his parents and asked if he knew their phone number. The smile he attempted felt unnatural, like a bear trying to look like a kitten. Leo looked up at the man, his deep-set eyes, the faded tank top revealing a sleeve of intricate tattoos, and instinctively recoiled. This was the kind of guy they warned you about in after-school specials. Cole seemed to sense the boy's fear. He looked back at his own table, at his friends with their loud conversations and rough appearances. He sighed and barked at them to put out their cigarettes, reminding them a kid was present. He told another to sit up straight and stop shaking his leg, that he was setting a bad example. After his tirade, Cole turned back to Leo, his demeanor softening again. He explained that they weren't bad people and gently asked where his family was, questioning why he was out so late by himself. He seemed entirely unaware that his own formidable presence was the most frightening thing there. The warm, yellow light of the food truck's generator cast a gentle glow over the scene. The air was thick with the smell of grilled onions and the low hum of conversations from office workers unwinding after a long day and college students on late-night food runs. The stimulation of the long wait and the unexpected gentleness of this intimidating man finally broke through Leo's resolve. His eyes welled up, and warm tears streamed down his cheeks, his small body shaking with quiet sobs. Cole, ignoring the disapproving glances from people nearby and the bewildered smirks from his own friends, scooped the child into his arms. He held the small, warm body close, patting his back with a large, calloused hand. His voice was a low rumble as he awkwardly comforted the boy, a surprisingly harmonious picture of brute force and fragile innocence. Julian finally saw him. It had been an hour since he'd left the condo, an hour of frantic searching that had left him looking utterly unlike himself. His normally perfect hair was damp with sweat and stuck to his forehead. His shirt was soaked through, and his jacket was tossed carelessly onto the passenger seat of his car. He saw his familiar child, nestled in the arms of a complete stranger, eating a piece of grilled zucchini. He pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose. "Leo!" At the sound of his father's voice, Leo shivered, scrambled out of Cole's embrace, and ran toward Julian, crying out for his daddy. Julian caught the small body, holding him tightly for a moment before striding over to Cole. He thanked the man for looking after his son and offered his business card, saying that if he ever needed anything, he could call. Cole glanced at the crisp cardstock before waving a dismissive hand, telling Julian it wasn't necessary. He just needed to keep a better eye on his kid next time, he added, calling him counselor. Julian offered his thanks again before carrying Leo to the car, securing him in his booster seat, and starting the engine. This was just like the movie, Leo thought. Now his dad would apologize, promise to be better, to truly love him. He braced himself for the classic lines. Julian, however, asked him sharply why he would run off like that. Leo's small world tilted. This was not according to the script. He felt a knot of panic tighten in his chest. Julian continued, his voice tight with controlled fear, asking if Leo had any idea how dangerous it was for a 5-year-old to be wandering around alone at night. Leo's tears, which had just subsided, began to flow again, his sobs echoing from the back seat. He choked out that he just wanted to talk, but Julian cut him off, stating that running away solved nothing. From the driver's seat, Julian caught a glimpse of his son's tear-streaked face and red-rimmed eyes in the rearview mirror, and his stern resolve finally cracked. The car pulled into the underground garage of their sleek, modern apartment building. Julian unbuckled Leo, lifting him carefully, if a bit awkwardly, into his arms. He told him not to cry anymore and to promise he wouldn't run out at night again. He offered to read him a story. Leo nodded, his voice a tiny, muffled okay. After a bath, Julian tucked his son, clad in fresh pajamas, into bed. He retrieved a storybook and began to read. The boy was exhausted and soon began to mumble incoherently. Julian placed the book aside, pulled the covers up to Leo's chin, and pressed a soft kiss to his forehead. "Good night, Leo." The child, already half asleep, felt the warm touch and murmured back, "Good night, Daddy. I love you." He was asleep before he could hear a reply. Julian stood frozen. He hadn't heard those words directed at him in a very long time. He tried to force a response from his throat, but the words wouldn't come. The days settled back into a routine until the following weekend, when the sudden resignation of their housekeeper threw the Chase household into chaos. Leo looked up at his father, who was contemplating another night of takeout or frozen dumplings, and pleaded with him. He didn't want that again. He asked if they could go back to the food trucks, remembering how delicious the grilled vegetables were. Julian, unable to resist his son's pleading eyes, agreed. He changed out of his work clothes, and together they walked toward the park. Cole had been kicked out of his apartment that morning. His landlord was giving the place to his newly married son. After stashing his belongings at his tattoo shop, he'd gone out in search of food and saw the child from the other night. When Leo spotted Cole, he looked at his father with those same imploring eyes. Given a nod of permission, he darted over and sat down opposite the big man. Cole, a cigarette halfway to his lips, saw the boy staring at him. He immediately dropped it and crushed it under his boot, gruffly telling the boy that smoking was a bad habit he shouldn't copy. A small, almost imperceptible smile touched the corners of Julian's eyes. He sat down next to Leo and addressed the tattooed man, remarking on the coincidence of meeting again and mentioning how much Leo seemed to like him. He admitted he hadn't had a chance to ask for his name last time. The man touched his nose, a gesture that seemed almost shy. He introduced himself as Cole Miller. Julian extended a hand, and they shook. Julian insisted that since Cole had helped him, he should let him buy him dinner. He suggested they get some of that grilled zucchini the boy liked so much. Leo, ignoring the polite exchange between the adults, was fascinated by the intricate ink on Cole's arm. He couldn't help but ask what Cole did for a living, commenting on how cool his tattoos were. Cole explained that he was a tattoo artist, that he drew pictures on people. Leo's eyes widened with admiration and he asked if he could get one too. Cole chuckled, reaching across the table to ruffle the boy's hair, telling him he was still too young, but maybe when he was older. Cole possessed a spirit that was the complete opposite of his formidable exterior. It was delicate, gentle, and surprisingly soft. Julian asked if he was on his own. Cole grimaced slightly, telling him just to call him Cole, as the formal address didn't suit him. He then explained his housing situation, how his landlord had abruptly evicted him after giving him 2 months' rent. He sounded frustrated and a little lost. Julian understood immediately. He offered to help, saying he knew a few reliable real estate agents, framing it as a thank you for what had happened the other night. Cole was about to thank him when Leo piped up, suggesting in his sweet voice that Cole should come live with them. He pointed out that they had plenty of empty rooms and he could keep Leo company instead of the old housekeeper. Julian gently squeezed Leo's hand, a silent. He explained to Cole, with some embarrassment, that their full-time nanny had recently resigned to help with her own grandchildren. Then he turned back to Leo and told him sternly not to bother Mr. Miller. How could he possibly know if that's what he wanted? But Cole spoke up, saying he did. He confessed he had a soft spot for the kid, and if Leo wanted him to, and Julian was willing, he would be happy to stay. Leo let out a little cheer and shot Cole a conspiratorial wink. Julian was momentarily stunned. He hadn't anticipated such a turn of events. And so, the large, tattooed man ended up in the meticulously curated condo. Julian handed him a spare key. Cole had arrived early the next morning with his ID, business license, and even his birth certificate, as if to prove his lineage was free of criminals for generations. They had already agreed on a monthly rent. Julian ruffled Leo's hair and asked if he was happy. Leo, hugging his father's leg, nodded his head enthusiastically, his eyes fixed on their new housemate. He was very happy, he chirped, and he loved his daddy the most. Cole scratched the back of his neck, telling Julian he'd be no trouble. Julian interrupted him, saying that calling him Mr. Chase was also too formal. Cole immediately took the cue and changed the address, asking Julian what he wanted for lunch so he could go grocery shopping. Leo's eyes went wide with awe. He exclaimed that Cole was amazing because his dad couldn't even cook. He then declared that he wanted meat. Cole nodded, squatting down to pat the boy's head and promising him they would have meat. Although Julian couldn't cook, the kitchen was surprisingly well-equipped. Cole went down to the gourmet market in their building and returned with prime cuts of beef, fresh vegetables, and a bag of goldfish crackers for Leo. Cole was an excellent cook, a domestic skill one would never guess from looking at him. He started on a rich beef stew, the aroma slowly filling the once sterile kitchen. As he worked, he felt a prickling sensation on his back. He turned to see Julian and Leo sitting at the dining table, watching him. Julian had at least set out plates and silverware, but Leo looked ready to snatch the meat right out of the pot. 2 hungry mouths to feed. When Cole brought the food to the table, he noticed the father and son ate with an oddly similar mechanical rhythm. 1 bite of stew, 1 bite of bread, chew 20 times. They looked like 2 robots. Julian, a little embarrassed, asked Cole if he would consider preparing their daily meals. He offered to cover all the costs and either deduct the labor from the rent or pay him a separate salary. Leo put down his spoon and made a begging gesture, his eyes looking impossibly large and wet. Cole found he couldn't refuse the boy's silent plea. Cooking wasn't a chore for him, and cooking for 3 was no different than cooking for 1. 2 little robots, he thought. The big one was tough and hard to read, but the little one was soft and sweet. A strangely endearing thought struck him. Cole's life as a reluctant homemaker began. First, it was just cooking. But because his work schedule was flexible, he soon took over picking Leo up from school as well. He thought about the look on the headmistress's face at the prestigious preschool the first time she saw him. A mix of amusement and alarm. It had taken a half-dozen phone calls to confirm he was authorized to pick up the boy. He looked at his reflection in the shop window. Broad shoulders, tattooed arms, a shaved head. He supposed he did look a bit rough. His days fell into a simple, pleasant pattern. Up at 6 to make breakfast. Then Julian would take Leo to school while he headed to his shop. In the afternoon, he picked Leo up, and they would go grocery shopping together. It was nice. One afternoon, he put the boy, who was darting around the supermarket aisles, up on his shoulders. He told him not to run off or his dad wouldn't be able to find him. Leo, with his small arms wrapped around Cole's neck, giggled. Cole heard the boy say in his earnest, childish voice that it was okay. He would protect Cole. Damn kid, he thought, a warmth spreading through his chest. Who needs your protection? He felt the tips of his ears grow warm and grabbed 2 bags of potato chips from the shelf as a treat. Julian Chase was a highly sought-after lawyer, known for his sharp tongue and even sharper intellect. His colleagues at the firm had nicknamed him the Ice King behind his back. At first, Julian had been annoyed. He was a successful 30-year-old man with a smart, lively son. What about him was king-like or icy? But then he considered the nickname of the partner in the next office and decided Ice King was preferable. He was, after all, a king of sorts. Julian had always avoided alcohol. He considered it a substance that impaired judgment and harmed the body, not unlike a drug, just with a slower addiction curve. But he was a man who needed to socialize for his career. So when the firm's director offered him a celebratory drink, he accepted. He was drunk after 1 glass. It turned out that such a low tolerance was a real phenomenon. His colleagues were stunned. A coworker found his phone, which had no password, and scrolled through a contact list filled with names like client, Smith and colleague, Jones, before finding one simply labeled tenant, Cole. Cole was wondering why Julian was so late when his phone rang. After getting the address of the downtown bar, he took Leo and set out to retrieve the boy's father. He was worried about leaving the child alone, and Leo had been asking for his dad anyway. Julian's colleagues helped a barely conscious Julian into Cole's car. Cole thanked them and drove off, leaving the shocked lawyers in his wake. Was Julian's tenant always so intense? Cole got the father and son home, depositing the larger one onto the passenger seat and buckling him in before reassuring the smaller one in the back that his dad had just had a little too much to drink. He carried them inside one by one. Looking at Julian's immaculate 3-piece suit, he worried. The man couldn't possibly sleep in that. Julian's skin was fair, almost unnaturally so from years spent indoors. As Cole began to undress him, he noted how pliant Julian was in his drunken state, just like Leo when he was sleepy. Like father, like son. Cole undid the suit jacket and shirt, his fingers brushing against skin, and he paused. He had to remind himself that he was gay, born that way, and in his circles, a man like him who didn't play games was a rare find. He had principles. No hookups, no casual flings, no leading people on. But looking at Julian, handsome and elegant, with a vulnerable flush from the alcohol, the resolve wavered. The man's waist was surprisingly slim. A wild animal seemed to stampede in Cole's chest. He chanted a mantra in his head. I am a good citizen. He threw a comforter over Julian, turned on the air conditioning, and went to take a very cold shower. The next morning, Julian felt surprisingly fine. He changed into casual clothes and walked into the living room to find Cole, wearing a pink apron left by the old housekeeper, serving a savory rice porridge. Leo was sitting in his high chair, tapping his bowl with a plastic spoon until a glare from his father silenced him. Seeing Julian, Cole unconsciously recalled the scene from the night before, and his ears turned red. How strange, Julian thought. A big, tough guy wearing a pink apron, blushing. It was cute. Cole placed a bowl of hangover soup in front of him, gently chiding him for drinking so much when he couldn't handle it. Julian nodded, thanking him for the rescue. While they spoke, Leo scooped up a spoonful of porridge, blew on it twice, and took a big bite, only to yelp as the hot food burned his tongue. Cole quickly fetched a glass of ice water while Julian leaned over to inspect the damage. For a moment, they looked like a completely normal, harmonious family. Julian felt something shifting inside him recently. As he ate the perfectly cooked meal, he realized that he had become more human. His colleagues had even commented on it. Cole was the perfect tenant. He could cook, he was great with Leo, he was considerate. Julian looked into the kitchen, where the dim light and fragrant steam created a scene that felt undeniably like home. Before Cole, the kitchen had been a sterile, silent space. Now it was the heart of the house. Julian stood up and poured Cole a glass of water. Such a great tenant shouldn't be taken for granted, he told himself, completely oblivious to the deeper meaning behind his own actions. Leo's elite kindergarten assigned monthly projects that required parental involvement, a dual torture for both children and parents. This month's assignment was a trip to an amusement park. Leo had never been, and neither had Julian. He stared helplessly at the text message from the teacher, while his son gazed at him with wide, hopeful eyes, asking if Cole could come with them. An idea sparked in Julian's mind. A guy like Cole must be an expert in such places. Cole was discussing a new design with a client when Julian's name flashed on his phone. He excused himself, a faint blush creeping up his neck. He answered, trying to keep his voice steady. Julian explained the situation, asking if he was free to join them at Six Flags the next day. Though he had several appointments scheduled for the weekend, Cole immediately said yes. To hell with work. The person he was falling for had asked him for something. He hung up the phone, and his client teased him, asking who had made him smile like that. Cole just shook his head, admitting that he hadn't won over the person he liked just yet. The next day, Cole was up at 6, making breakfast while wearing the pink apron. He then went to wake the two sleepers. Leo was adorable, yawning and rubbing his tummy. Cole carried him to the bathroom to brush his teeth. The sleepy boy leaned forward and gave Cole a soft kiss on the cheek, smelling of milk and toothpaste. Waking Julian was more difficult. After knocking for a full minute with no response, Cole entered the room. Julian was asleep, clutching a long pillow, his usually styled hair soft and messy. A few rays of sunlight streamed through the curtains, bathing him in a lazy golden light. Cole moved to the bedside and tentatively poked Julian's cheek. His eyes fluttered open. "I'm getting up," Julian mumbled, seemingly unaware of what had just happened. Cole fled the room in embarrassment. It wasn't peak season, so the park wasn't crowded. Leo was ecstatic, and Cole and Julian found themselves running to keep up with him. They rode the log flume and got soaked, having forgotten to bring spare clothes. They rode the merry-go-round, with Leo insisting on the white horse while he declared Julian and Cole to be the princesses trapped in the carriage behind him. Julian looked at the massive, tattooed man crammed uncomfortably into the small space and found himself laughing. He looked at the sudden, genuine smile on Julian's face and felt his own heart beat a little faster. In the afternoon, they watched a parade. Leo, stuck behind a crowd of taller adults, couldn't see and began to pout. He asked to ride on Cole's shoulders. Cole hesitated, worried he'd look like some kind of kidnapper, but one look at Leo's sad face and he relented. Having the sweet, small boy perched on his neck felt surprisingly good. By the time they stopped for dinner at a food court, it was dark. The park's neon lights began to glow, creating a dazzling galaxy around them. Leo, now on Julian's shoulders, pointed a small finger toward the sky. He wanted to ride the Ferris wheel. The giant, illuminated wheel was the park's main attraction, and they joined the line of couples heading towards it. The three of them squeezed into the small cabin. As it ascended, Julian seemed nervous. Cole sat closer, settling the now sleepy child in his lap, and asked Julian what was wrong, if he was afraid of heights. Julian's heart hammered against his ribs. He looked away, out at the glittering cityscape below, the neon lights hiding the blush on his cheeks. He mumbled that it wasn't that, he was just thinking about something. Cole watched the colorful lights play across Julian's face, casting a soft glow on his sharp features. The feeling that had been simmering in his chest for weeks, the one he had tried to suppress, overflowed. "Julian," he began. "Yes?" Looking into Julian's amber eyes, with the sleeping child between them, Cole lost his nerve. He shook his head. Nothing. He would confess some other time. The peaceful days continued after their trip, the bond between the three of them growing stronger. Cole started bringing homemade lunches to Julian's office, much to the envy of Julian's colleagues. "Where did you find this tenant?" One of them, a perpetually single lawyer named Chen, asked as she eyed the meticulously prepared food. Julian just gave her a smug look and told her not to even think about it. Chun changed the subject, asking how his latest domestic violence case was going. She remembered hearing that the defendant had some dangerous connections. Julian waved off her concern, confident that the man posed no threat to him. He never imagined that a few days later, those words would come back to haunt him. It wasn't him who was in trouble. It was Leo. Cole went to the preschool as usual to pick up Leo, but after waiting for a long time, the boy never appeared. He ran to find the director. The classroom was empty. The child was gone. The director frantically pulled up the security footage. It showed Leo, standing in a corner waiting for Cole, being led away by several men. The school gate was crowded. The boy must have been taken so quickly he didn't even have a chance to scream. Cole looked at the director's ashen face, grabbed his phone, and called Julian, his voice tight with panic. "Julian, the child is gone." Julian was working late when he got the call. He threw on his coat and raced to the preschool. As he drove, his heart pounded against his ribs, adrenaline surging through him. For the first time in his life, his meticulous control shattered completely. He ran a red light, then another, his only thought consumed by a terror so profound it eclipsed everything else.